Hello, this is Steve Lentini, and I'm your host for the podcast Different Thinking for Different Times. Richard, if you're listening, welcome. Just a note to one of my listeners. So, to continue in the series of small-minded acorn brain thinking, which is limited and finite, I want to talk about something that's written by PhD Dr. Ronald Alexander in his book Wise Mind, Open Mind. On page 15, there's a poem that he included by Pablo Neruda. Something knocked in my soul, fever or forgotten wings, and I made my own way, deciphering that fire. And I wrote the first faint line, faint, without substance, pure nonsense, pure wisdom of someone who knows nothing. And suddenly I saw the heavens unfastened and open. It's called La Poesia. So Dr. Ronald Alexander talks about the egoic mind, or what the Buddha called the monkey mind. It's fascinating, the terms that come up for it, right? The ego mind, the false self. So let me read a little bit, if you'll indulge me, from page 18 of his book. Your brave, authentic self urges you to let go of your fears. Take risks to live more deeply and fully, and take the leap to achieve your destiny. By accessing your soul, you'll unleash the driving force of your passions and send yourself sailing into uncharted waters and climbing new mountains. Trust in this journey and know that when the fog of uncertainty parts, the way will be clear, and you'll be exactly where you need to be. He goes on to say, and this is the part I really enjoyed, but I wanted to give you the whole context. Once you develop the skill of attaining open mind, you'll begin to recognize what you most desire, because you won't be distracted by your small or egoic mind, what it churns up. So, because you won't be distracted by what your small or egoic mind churns up. Your egoic mind, he goes on to say, is the small part of yourself that overly identifies with who you are as an individual. It's the aspect of your consciousness that has a sense of self-importance and is concerned with your desires and your place in the world. The egoic mind is incapable of perceiving that you are both an individual and a part of a greater cosmic interconnected self. I love that. Go get that book, Wise Mind, Open Mind. So to expound on that further, that small-minded egoic mind, how we define ourselves here, you can see it in all kinds of places where people post on Facebook and they make one group wrong or the other. And they're proud of their own statement and how they feel, and they believe their way is the right way. And it's all kinds of positions. And fascinating to see each side thinking they're right. Your egoic mind is the small part of yourself that overly identifies with who you are as an individual. I'm reading this again. I want to emphasize it. It's the aspect of your consciousness that has a sense of self-importance and is concerned with your desires and your place in the world. Right? And you can see it on Twitter, on Facebook, and it's people defining themselves from the outside, and the self-importance of the ego saying, hey, I'm right. Look at these people. Look what they did. That's small-minded. And I can tell you, where God resides, where the infinite resides, where the universe resides, where the life force resides, and it doesn't matter what you call it, whether it's the the God or the goddess or the Brahma, the Buddha, the Christ consciousness, the Muhammad, it had no name. It's not egoic. And nothing from here, when I left my body from intensive care on November 18th, 2002, at around 2 p.m., I was one with everything and nothing, which is what the poem said. When he realized he knew nothing, the heavens opened up. Can I read that line again? Well, I can't find it. Oh, here it is. I wrote the first faint line, faint without substance, pure nonsense, pure wisdom of someone who knows nothing. And suddenly I saw the heavens unfastened and open. And of course, we think the smarter we are, the better we are. We think that if we have a big job or a big title or a big house or lots of things, that we've made a success of ourselves. And yes, in this world, but nothing from here was there when I passed from having a body to from the physical to the non-physical world into pure consciousness, as Deepak Chopra likes to call it. So I'm not imploring anyone to change their mind or to believe me. I'm just sharing my experience and certainly hope people take the journey of leaving behind the egoic experience as much as possible. Because that's where the infinite resides, in the moment, accepting all, not tolerating, accepting all in the moment. Just think of infinite mercy, infinite grace, infinite love, and not as we define it as the egoic human with hubris. So nothing from here was there, at least for me. Maybe that won't be your experience. I hope it's not in the next minute or tonight. I hope you enjoy your birthday this year and many, many more, as I like to say, and many more. And we don't know. We don't know when we're going to leave this world, the physical into the non-physical, and there's nothing to fear. We go from this to that, and there's nothing from this world there. The egoic mind is not God. That's the human mind defining God in our small little acorn brain way, the finite, limited thinking. And we carry it with us every day because we judge others to be wrong if they don't share our ideals and ideas or our faith or our nationality or our political points of view. Just think about how small-minded all of that is. And if it's not infinite, if it's small-minded, it's not where the creator of this life, that life force, resides. I think I've said before, I get a kick out of physicists who someday they're striving to find what created this. And then you could confound them and get them on the journey again by the simple question of, well, what created that? There is no answer to this thing we live in. It's a huge mystery. And to just be in the moment, you'll find the place that if you identify with everything and nothing, that you can let go of everything you've defined yourself as and just do what you love and do what you desire without judging everyone else and without care for who judges you. Follow your heart. Follow your passion. Return the gifts that you came here to the universe, from the universe with. Return them to the earth. To leave everyone and everything a little better than we find them in every moment. Because the only thing mentioned in my life review was the good I had done, the lives I had touched. And it makes sense to me that that's etched onto the fabric of time, that where the light resides, the life force, the God, the goddess, again, whatever you want to call it, only light exists. And so do good. But prove it to yourself. How do you feel when you do good? And leave behind all your egoic thoughts. Imagine if people stopped posting on Facebook all their thoughts that make them right and just post pictures of family and celebrations and happy moments and leave behind all these things of making people wrong. Same thing with Twitter. What if we left it all behind? What if the media stopped reporting on everything they disagreed with, whatever channel you want to listen to, whatever viewpoint they had? What if they stopped reporting all that and we just started reporting on feeding others, clothing others, helping others, and the stories of that in the world? I mean, we think of our politicians rail against everything that they disagree with. They rail against each other. They point fingers and say nasty things. It's amazing, both sides. Imagine that's the example they're setting, and yet they rail against people who disagree with them. Our politicians, let's call on our leaders to step up their game, to leave behind the ego and so attached to having to win. Imagine winning the election and then making all the people around you wrong. And if you're a politician, then you pass away before your term ends or before your time that you thought in your egoic mind, then what would have been the point? Why can't politicians win on the positive? How about we ask them to step up and talk only about what they'll do and not make their opponents wrong? What if we denounce that kind of behavior? And they wonder why it permeates society, and when our leaders are in fact the ones who encourage it and do it. And it doesn't matter what side. Think about the questions. How about questioning your answers and expanding into the infinite? The acceptance that humans are different. I don't think that's changed if you look throughout history. And I don't think it will be changing anytime soon. Humans are different. We're supposed to overcome small-minded thinking by understanding or trying to understand someone's position and then compromise, negotiate. What happened to all that? I mean, I think it's worse now than it's ever been. Probably gotten that way over the last 20 or 25 years. We're the reason for it because we allow it. And then we sink into that discourse. Let's all step up our game because that's where the infinite resides. But again, you have to prove this to yourself. See if it makes a difference. How about if you stop posting except for family celebrations and all your own wonderful stories of joy and happiness in your life, and leave your opinion of others out, because guess what? Your life is none of my business. Only my life is. The life of others is none of my business. And that's true for all of us. Managing me, I've learned over time, is my job. And I had a hard time doing that in my younger days. And now I have a lot of joy just being in the moment, managing myself. But again, prove it to yourself. Don't take my word for it. If you have any questions, you want to challenge me, you want to let me interview you, you share my ideas, either way, it's okay. Reach out to me, Steve at stevelentini.com, Steve at stevelentini.com. Glad to have you as a guest on the podcast. You can always email me too with any questions or concerns or challenge my thinking. And remember, I might ask you, does that sound small-minded? If it sounds small-minded, it's not. We're the infinite, the life force, the God, the goddess, the divine, where that resides. And you'll find out for yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. And you could try it. Thank you.